Stop trying to keep the peace to keep people in your life. We're not going to do that today. And we're not going to do that any other day, because keeping peace is like drinking poison for the sake of having something to drink. Just like keeping people from, as far as a space of, oh, I want to keep the peace. I want to do all of those things for the sake of having people. It's the same thing. All right. It's just because you have people doesn't mean that they're the healthiest people for you. And just because they're related to you does not make them family. So you got to get out of that mindset that I have to do things because blood is thicker than water. Stop doing that. That is a false narrative. And that is an old programming that everybody was kind of taught from a young age. Listen, be kind, be empathetic, love and support the people around you. But keep in mind, don't keep them around if it's detrimental to your health. If you find, oh man, I got to go to this house on Sunday and have dinner and oh my gosh, it's terrible. And I always leave and I'm drained and I'm stressed out. Why are you going? Why are you going? Of course, in this world, we have to do things that we don't want to do, but it doesn't have to be that way in your personal life. In the world, we're going to have to do a lot of things, maybe working, paying taxes. Like there's a lot of things, putting up with people that you wouldn't normally put up with in your personal life. Yes, there's a lot of things that you're going to have to do regardless of wanting to do them or not. But don't get that mixed up in your personal life. Okay. In your personal life, you should not sit there and keep putting yourself in positions to keep the peace for the sake of saying, well, at least I have people. That's like having rotten apples in your house for the sake of having apples. Why are we doing that? See, you have to understand that solitude itself, I'm not saying you have to be in a fortress of solitude for the rest of your natural born life. We are human creatures. We require community and we require that, but not at the sake of your peace and not at the sake of just having people for the sake of having people. All right. So the fortress of solitude for a brief period of time is going to give you the opportunity to get to know who you are. Authenticity. You're going to know who you are. And quite honestly, that could be why you're keeping people around too. You're keeping the peace because you're like, I don't know what to do without these people. That's a clear sign that it is time for you to focus on yourself. Right? Because for so long, you might have been told who you are. Well, this is what you do. This is what you vote for. This is what you worship. This is what you do. You were told, you were given a program through most of your life. So the fact of the thought of going, oh my God, I got to do something different. That's scary. So what? Go into the fear. The option that you always want to take is the scariest one. And the reason you want to take that is because it's going to be walking on your own path, not the journey that someone else has set for you and not the path in which they've forged for you because that makes them comfortable. So you have to realize not a lot of people like change, no matter what it is. Not a lot of people like change. So when they see you sort of switching it up, not being available because you have boundaries, not showing up, and then they're trying to manipulate you and trying to make you feel guilty and doing all those things. And when they realize it falls upon deaf ears and it's not something that you're listening to and hearing and that you're putting yourself as a priority, they are going to distance and you're going to have to accept it. Why are you trying to hold on to people because of an idea that you want it to be? I want my mom to be a better mom. Okay, well, you know what? She may not. She may not. Want it all day long, every day to Saturday, she may not. And it's something that you got to get clear in because whether you like it or not, that's how it's going to work. So you have choices. You can either accept people for who they are and then place them in your life or out of your life when necessary. But you got to be willing to say, am I dealing with attachment? Am I dealing with codependency? Am I dealing with insecurities? Am I dealing with a lack of self-esteem and self-love? Don't judge yourself, but know that that's a spot that you're going to start working on. That. Because when you start to do that, you're going to start seeing that your vibration is going to pick up. And some of your higher vibrations is not going to include other people. It's not going to include them. So you might as well get comfortable with that now. And it's going to be uncomfortable at first because you're like, well, but I've had these people all my life and this is all I've known. Okay, but if that's all you know, why can't you change it up? Because very often you don't like it, but you know it. That's the familiar chaos is what I call it. So you're in the familiar chaos by accepting things as they are. You got to accept things as they are, but you don't have to participate in things as they are. So just because you're used to it, you have to accept people and the situations for what it is. It is what it is. I don't care how much you want to change it. I don't care the fantasy life that you have of it. I don't care how you want it to be. It is how it is. And it can be sad, but if you live in that sadness and you live in that stress, you're going to stay in that stress. And then you're going to go, I want it to change, but then I'm afraid to make these changes. I want these people in my life, but what if they're not in my life? So what if they're not? You got to ask, get clear in asking yourself this question. Would I rather have these people in my life and not feel myself, maybe even find myself, not feel at peace with myself? Would I rather that? Or would I rather be really uncomfortable and in solitude for a brief period of time to learn myself, to find what's best for me? Because I can't tell you in my profession how many people I have seen get married to people when they didn't want to get married to them, but they got married because they're like, well, this is just what I do. I get married, I have the 2.5 kids or whatever the case may be. I do that. And they're just on autopilot. You're trying to fulfill all these things that people want from you and that they say to you. And, why are we doing that? What is the angle in which you're taking with that? Because it isn't something that's going to benefit you. All right, sure, they can be there, but they're taking up valuable real estate in your head. Valuable. It is priceless. Your interest rate needs to be high. Your prices need to be high. And you have to say, are they taking up space where I could actually fulfill that with myself and or other people in your life that may benefit you more? Because it does have to benefit your growth. People, you've heard this. It's very familiar. People come into your life for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. You don't always get to choose. Oh, well, you always get to choose, but you don't always get to choose who is put in those places because they put themselves there. Very often, people are going to allocate themselves where they need to be. Maybe it's the lifetime. Maybe it's the season. Maybe it's never. Maybe it's just an acquaintance. All right. But don't go under the illusion that because you have family, that it's supposed to be blissful. We would love that. We would love that. But the reality is you're dealing with, including us, right? Everybody's got some damage. Everybody's got some traumas. Everybody has things that they're working on. And some people are more prepared and honest with themselves to work on it. And some people are not. And you have to stop trying to fish and go, hey, come over here. I'll show you how to grow. It's not your job to teach somebody to want to go through this process. Now, if they want to go through the process and they see that you're progressing and they're like, man, this looks great. How did you do that? Oh my God, that's great. But it's still on their times, not yours. So you may look at something, especially on your journey, especially if you're further along on your journey than say somebody else. So you might see it through this lens and you might be like, oh, well, that's easy enough. Just do this and this and you'll be fine. They don't see this. So you have to be really careful of coming in with the savior complex to try to save the day for the sake of continuing to bring them into your life. So I think it's a really good exercise for you to really look, there's the thing that says you're the sum of the 5 people around you. And I think you really have to look and say, I don't care who they are. Take their title away, come out of the emotion for a moment and come back 10,000 feet and look ahead, look out and say, is this or are these people benefiting my growth and my long-term goals? Gonna have to get honest. It can be prickly. It can be sad. But what are you willing? This is where it goes back into your control. People aren't controlling this. This goes into your control in the role in which they play in your life. And if you're not ready to let them go, then you know that that's the part of the journey that you need to focus on right now. And it may have to come to some serious radical acceptance. But when you do, you're going to free yourself up for opportunities, healthier relationships. They just might not be the people that you have in your life right now today.